All right, we got another basement wall crack. This time it is in residential. Got a poured wall here. Seems to be pretty solid, except for this, I don't know, stress point or something. I bought this property at foreclosure years ago, and it had a crack there before, and it's just gotten worse. I tried to repair it a little bit, and as you can see, it's about a 1/4 inch. Some of the areas up here getting to be almost a 1/2 inch. I don't know if you guys know this little hack. That's a 1/2 inch. That's a 1/4 inch. So get yourself a contractor's pencil. Anyhow, this I've had really good success with a companion product, and it is this carbon fiber. Comes in a kit. This one just happens to be made by RCF. This will go on the top, but before we get there, what I want to do is I want to fill in this crack with a different structural product here. So what you do is this product here on the left is the anchoring epoxy, and you anchor these little ports every 18 inches starting from the bottom, and then when that's dry and you have a seal on top, you put in the structural epoxy, which is kind of expands like a foam in there almost. And that's used with this port mixer here. You attach it to the top, and you have to have special guns for that. This is, you'll notice the offset on that. I don't know what that is, 1.5 by 1 inch maybe. And I think these are both 1.5 maybe. I don't know. What you need is you actually need 2 different guns, or if you want, you can swap out the plungers. So, for example, on this gun, it's for the 2 bigger, let's say 1.5 by 1.5, and then on this gun, it's already set up for the 1.5 by, let's say, like 1 inch or 3/4 or whatever that is. So, I guess you could maybe change out those plunger sizes. But I already had this one anyway from a previous job that I did with the carbon fiber. So we're going to go ahead and just have both. So the idea is that starting from the bottom, I already have my mark right there. And then every 18 inches, you go up, you mark, and you put those little ports all the way up. Then you come back and you fill it up with the resin. Once that's covered and dried and smoothed out and everything, then we'll go ahead and put the carbon fiber blanket on top. Kind of like roll it down like that. So hope that's coming through okay. So I've had really good success with that carbon fiber. Hopefully these other products will do a good job as well. So first step is cleaning this area off, and we'll just do that with a hand chisel. So let's get at it. All right, so we cleared out the crack with really just what I found, a small screwdriver. Worked pretty good. That other filler was kind of loose, and just having that screwdriver was easy to work with. Most of the crack is okay, and I think I can work with that, and I can get it back in there. This area here is a confluence of a lot of rebar and stuff, and I did notice that these ties, which I think, I don't do concrete forms, but I believe those are the concrete form spacers. So that might have been a pour right in that area up there. We actually pulled out one of those metal ties. If you're a concrete guy that does these kind of pours, let me know. I mean, I'm happy to see all this rebar in there. That's good. but you know, it just ends right there too. So I'm not sure what that's all about. I do see it going through the whole area here, but then there's a vertical one that goes pretty much the whole length up, I think. So without doing it much more exploring, I don't know. You guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Plus then these little ties that go all the way through. I think that holds the forms together so they don't pull apart when the concrete, the liquid concrete, I guess you would say, wet concrete is poured in there. That holds the forms together from pushing out, you know. So instead of having, there's another one right there. Right there. There's something going on right there. I think that somehow created some type of a fault. So it is what it is. I will fix this, and I don't know exactly sure how I'm going to do this one right here, but maybe I'll pour the bottom and then see if that stuff works its way up in there. And then maybe I'll use that gray epoxy and I'll put a stop here and then make that a separate pour up there. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'm able to do that. Okay, you know what I mean? Kind of like put like a bridge head right in here. So then all the rest of this I can fill in with maybe some, I don't know, high strength concrete or something. Or maybe try to go get the stuff back in there. I don't know. It's a good thing I'm a hillbilly, because there's going to be some ingenuity on this. So let's get going. Here's the amount that came out of there. Another little piece right there. So it's a fair amount of junk we took out, but you know, overall, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm going to have enough material to replace it, so. All right, we're going to go ahead and put this high strength anchoring epoxy up on the wall. And this is the one with the two, I don't know, 1.5 inch size tubes. So we got the caulking gun for that, and we have a neat little divider in there. See how that kind of like swirls it around? So it mixes the epoxy itself all the way down this applicator, which is kind of neat. And they're all universal. And then from there, you have these tubes. You see they have like four little areas there that you can squish the epoxy in. You don't want to fill the tube area, because you need that to put in the other epoxy that's for the anchoring system that bonds to the concrete. But these are going to go every 14 inches. And the instructions say to go ahead and put those on first. It should be no slump, so hopefully it won't sag too much. And we'll put them on the crack every 18 inches. Okay, so we got the ports up there, and it was a little bit runnier than what I thought, so I had to basically tape these ports on. Maybe the crack is a little bit wider than what was anticipated, so, but I think they're drying, and I think it's going to be okay. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm probably going to have to get a little bit of piping and put that in there, because I don't think that the epoxy, that structural epoxy, is going to be able to span that crack without just running down and down and down and down and down. And I only have one tube of that, so I want to make it count. So I think I'm going to have to put some piping back in there. So I'll let this dry in place with the ports. The piping is just like foam, you know, and I'll put that in there. All right, so there's the piping in there, down there. I think that's, you know, I can just get the putty in there. But the piping just kind of fills up some of those bigger areas. And that should be a good surface area for that other stuff to, that other epoxy to go ahead and get up there. It gets a little wider up there. So, you know, it is what it is. But hopefully maybe I'll just wait until it thickens up a little bit and I'll put it in some of the thicker areas there. But you can still see it goes all the way through. I did not run the piping all the way through there. So, and then in here, I just did a you know, a little dam or a little block. Same thing down in there. So, hope you can see that. And we'll go ahead and put that epoxy, smooth it all the way around. Alright, so we did the entire tube. That was a big tube, but I am not really impressed with this anchoring epoxy. I mean, it is way too viscous. Look at that. You know, you can see all the drips and stuff in there, and I'm inside an air-conditioned home. Just way too viscous. So I don't know, man, I'm gonna have to drill through there maybe just to make sure that those ports are open. But I mean, look at that, dripping right there. It's still dripping. So I don't know, I'll let this harden up and then I guess I'll come back and put another coat on top of it, because that's not enough. Now I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say that you know, this crack was a little bit wider maybe than their intended application, but I mean, like, look at it dripping. I don't know. So it should be setting up quicker, I guess. And it's the whole tube. So at first I was thinking that maybe it was just the first part of the tube didn't get mixed properly, but you know, I did the entire tube, and then I also mixed it by hand. So I don't think it's it's the two-part epoxy is not getting squeezed out in the proper amounts. I think it is. It's just a matter of well, it's not working right. Okay, so we have pretty much all of this anchoring epoxy done. I did have to go out and buy some off-the-counter epoxy from Home Depot and did a little research. I just got the Quickcrete anchoring epoxy that's fast dry. This is really strong. I mean, it has up to, like, I don't know, over 200,000 psi pulling, 24,000 or 20,000 psi for the other tensile strength and stuff. I'll put the link in the description so you can see the lighter colored epoxy, like, you know, right up here in this area. That's the lighter epoxy right there that came from Home Depot. The darker is from the manufacturer, but I ran out of the other stuff and I did not want to wait and I also didn't need that much. But I looked at it, I plugged in pretty much all the gaps and stuff that I can determine are adequate, and I think we're going to go for it. So I did test all of these ports. So, the port goes all the way in then to the void back in there. I did test by blowing on there. There was just one that was clogged just a little bit, and I just used an old drill bit to unclog it, to drill it out. So we're going to start from the bottom and go up. Hopefully we'll hit right around there. And then I tried to create kind of a little break right there so it wouldn't come out and spill out too much. Although, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing if it did come out and fill that void a little bit. So here we go. So what we got now is this structural epoxy injection, and it's 2 parts. Again, same kind of scenario, although we're going to be using this plunger setup, which has kind of like the 3/4 inch plunger there, and about 1.5 inch plunger there, and that will correspond with those two there. So similar type of setup in terms of adding this mixer part right there, and that again has the mixer kind of like swirls it around inside of there, so you get it nice and mixed up. So I'm hoping that I can maybe get away with using this twice and just swap out the canisters. I'm not exactly sure how many I'll need to go all the way up, but I'm thinking like 2, maybe 3, something like that. All right, so I filled up the bottom one there, and you put in these little toppers in there into the part of the port there when that's full, and it supposedly goes all the way up. So this was a pretty deep cavern, and what I'm doing is, as you can see, that one's all the way full too, and all the way up to here needs a little bit more. I did put a little bit in there to kind of further seal it, and then I did put some in that upper port there, just a little bit, because what I'm hoping is that it'll fill in maybe like that much in there all the way back in. So because I have this giant hole here, I don't know how else to handle that. So some of it did spill through the crack in there, but that's okay, because I think I got most of it back in there to kind of like seal most of it off. So maybe I'll just keep on adding a little bit more at a time, and hopefully it'll kind of seal itself, and then I could go up the balance of the crack. But it's all looking good. None of it is actually leaking out the sealed areas here. So that was just overflow. That none of it's actually leaking out through the sealed area. So I count that as a success, at least on that anchoring epoxy part of it. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's actually full of stuff. So we know that it's at least up that high, and probably every bit up to there as well. But that's a big crack. So big void in there. So hopefully it's doing its thing back there and it's sealing it up. All right, so we're outside. On the inside, we're doing that crack, and I went to the outside of the house here, and we have this kind of like cultured stone here. So the issue is that the glue or the epoxy is a little bit more viscous than what I had originally thought, and I wanted to come to the outside to kind of create a barrier from the outside to make sure that epoxy is just leaking outside. So I'm going to flip around. I'm going to show you the situation. I decided to go ahead and do some cleanup out here, and also to put in some carbon fiber reinforcement on the outside as well. So that's what we're going to be doing. Fortunately, I had a little bit of forethought when I built the house and put the cultured stone on here to save a bunch of extra pieces just in case something happened. So we do have replacements of the same lot, which is nice when when they manufacture something that comes in a lot, and if you don't get that same lot or pretty similar, they could have color variations. So I did plan ahead a little bit, and I should have enough replacement stones. So once this is all said and done with the repair, it'll look bad at first, but hopefully at the end you won't be able to tell anything. Alright, so here's the crack here, and you can see on the bottom it has actually gone all the way through the foundation there, and has separated some of these cultured stones. Fortunately, like right here, I could just save this stone and that stone. But what we're going to be doing is I'm going to actually be removing a strip across the top and putting in some carbon fiber reinforcement. And this is structural. This stuff is really good. I've used it before. So I'm at least going to put one on the top, and then maybe go down and put it a little bit further down. So I'm just going to see what it looks like when we uncover at least the top part of it, and then go from there. Alright, so we have chipped away a little bit at this, and you can see, this veneer stuff is held on. You take Tapcons and you put that in there, and you put some wire mesh or whatever, usually something like that, and you just do like a, scratch coat or something, and then apply it with some kind of mortar, like Type S usually, I think. Anyway, this video isn't about that. This video is about this crack. And as you can see, that's my finger. So, it's every bit of a ½ an inch. And I'm glad I came outside here to uncover this. So, but what I'm thinking is that I'm thinking I could get away with having a patch from here to over there. So like 2 or 3 feet on the entire side of the patch, and I think I'm going to go all the way down. I think that's just the best way to do it, and then come back in and re-brick it or re-stone it. So, sorry, there's a bee in my face. So what I'm doing is I'm, the ones that broke off, they're just going to be rubble. But I do have a little pile over here that we can resave. So that's the situation. Okay, so you can see in short order, we turned that beautiful stone facade foundation and we exposed it, and for good reason. You know, there's a pretty decent sized crack right there, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to come along. I took out all of the tap cons, which are the blue screws, as well as the wire mesh all the way down, and I'm going to come back over this, clean it up really good with a wire brush, and then also probably with a cup wheel I'll try to clean off some of that junk, because we want a really nice flat adhesion for this carbon fiber epoxy resin application. And it might look like it's kind of a big job, but I think it is probably smart that I made it this wide to give it extra strength. This carbon fiber is crazy strong for tensile strength, which is like pulling, you know. So I think that's what's happening, because this crack, it's pulling apart like that. Okay, so it's not like coming in or out, like it's flush. So it's not, this piece isn't listing or over this one or vice versa. They're flat, so it's, I think, going down that way. And there is a hill back down here, so probably there was a little bit of settling over time to the bottom of the hill. And truth be told, this crack was actually kind of here when I bought the place. I got it at foreclosure, and the previous owner had completed the basement walls, and that's it. So not, you know, the rest of the house. So that crack was there a bit, but obviously, you know, putting the rest of the house on top of it probably caused some extra weight, and probably caused it to go that way a little bit, which is downhill. So it's not the end of the world. On the other side right here, there's a wall on the inside that's perpendicular, and it provides a lot of support. So I'm pretty confident that, like, anchoring it from that side to over there, 2.5, 3 feet ish on either side, with this epoxy resin and carbon fiber is going to do the trick. So let's do that now. All right, so what we got going on is that on the bottom part of there is some like tar, some waterproofer. You know, this epoxy is awesome stuff, but it's only as good as the bond is on the wall, on the concrete. It's designed to bond with concrete, and then obviously the mesh. So what I did is, on the top, I made it longer, because that's kind of the top. That's actually, separating the most. So I'm going to put a real good first strip on there, and then I'm going to go out and get like some tar remover or something, some chemical, and try to do a better job removing this tar on the bottom area. Then come back with the cup wheel, which is designed to, grind down concrete and stone and stuff like that. It's really not designed to, remove tar from a foundation. So, I mean, it does what it can. It's a great thing, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and put that strip on the top, and and then let that go ahead and cure. Go out and get some tar remover, let that do its thing. Hopefully we can get the tar off the bottom, then we can finish you know, putting the carbon fiber on here. All right, so this is the carbon fiber. Some really cool material, crazy strong for like tensile strength. So, you know, tensile strength is like, you know, pulling it, but you can just cut it with a regular scissors, and you can buy it in different like sheets. You can buy one 48 by 48 or whatever. This particular product, I just happened to buy it in like, you know, 12, you know, a foot wide by, I don't know, 10 feet long. So that's the purpose of having that piece up on top. So, you know, as you can see, this stuff is crazy strong for pulling, tensile strength. You can just cut it with an ordinary pair of cheap scissors. So it's kind of amazing that way. All right, so this particular product is RCF, I don't know, reinforcement product. It's a two-part epoxy. You do have to have one of these special guns and make sure that you get the appropriate size little plunger. Some guns come with a plunger that's a slightly different size, and because that sometimes these epoxies for different applications, like for the inside of the crack, not the outside, you know, have like a smaller tube on the left than they do on the right. So different proportions of whatever the epoxy is. Epoxies are amazing. I mean, they're crazy strong. So it just acts just like a regular caulking gun. And then there's like a little spiral mechanism inside this applicator that, like, you know, swirls it basically for you. So we just got to put this on the wall and then put the carbon fiber on there and keep it up there until it dries, and then it'll do its own job. Okay, so that probably isn't best practices. I mean, you could probably use like a squeegee or maybe a brush or something like that. But this foundation had a little bit of unevenness, and sometimes I just like to get my fingers in there, make sure that there's plenty of goop, you know, epoxy getting where it needs to go, so there's a good bond. Because I really don't want to do this over again. And trust me, I've used this product before, and it is awesome. And what I mean by that is that once that thing dries, there's no coming back. I mean, no coming back. You're gonna have to destroy the wall practically. It's that strong. So so I don't mind getting my hands, you know, dirty. Use gloves, obviously. Don't get it in your eyes, that kind of stuff. Don't be stupid. But and don't be afraid to use a generous amount. This stuff is relatively expensive. I mean, it's not like caulk. Okay, this is the real deal. So be prepared. Buy a couple extra tubes or whatever, so you get a good job done the right time, because it's your foundation or whatever. If you're using this product for something, chances are it's important, like it's your foundation or something important. So go ahead, buy a little extra, smush it in there with your hands with gloves on, whatever, just because it's important, get the job done. So, but I think it looks great. You'll have a little bit of runniness going down, you know, that's just to be expected. And I had to trim it on the right hand side just a little bit to get it to fit flush. Those little fibers that you see, those things, when this stuff hardens, those things will be as strong or just as strong as that wire mesh. I mean, it's crazy how good this stuff is. So I'll leave a link in the description to it. I'm not sponsored, as always, by any of these products and stuff like that, but if you want, I'll leave a link in the description for you, and you can check it out on your own. So, and I don't endorse these people or whatever. Maybe I should kind of take back some of what I said, but I'm happy with the product. Let me just put it that way, okay? So this is not an endorsement for them per se. I don't get a kickback or money or whatever from them. I'm not endorsed by them, and I'm not, quote unquote, endorsing their product, other than to say that, like, this stuff is the real deal, and I think it works really good. So passing that knowledge along to you guys. All right, so I got this new wire brush attachment for the grinder to get off the bulk of the tar, because it was just on pretty thick. So that cup wheel is not designed to take off the tire. It's designed to, like, smooth out like concrete and bricks and stuff like that, masonry. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of tar in there, and I was using my hearing and my eye protection. So I put the blanket over the utilities just to protect them a little bit. But there's all kinds of junk in there, and I think I got off the nice little bulk layer of top, and I'll come in and kind of clean it with a solution a little bit, and that'll give it an opportunity to soak a little bit more. But I think this process is just going to kind of repeat itself until that tar comes out. So we're going to have to get down to bare concrete. All right, so might not look like much, but coming up closer, you can definitely see that a lot of the bulk of the tar is coming off up here, and this will be that next strip. So it's about a foot wide, so I'll be able to put another strip, and then when that cures, I'll be able to work all the way down. But it's actually removing quite a bit of that tar, so I'm trying to get, like I said, like the bulk of that off of there. That's really tough. I mean, it's doing its job, which is adhering to the concrete and waterproofing it, but at the same time, see, like, this is a good example of the stuff I was dealing with. It was pretty thick, down there, and I already put like some solvent on there to reduce some of the bulk on the outside, in order to, because you don't want to try to scrape all that off by hand. You want that hopefully to maybe a combination of the solvent and then also manually doing it. In this case, using the grinder with that wheel, that wire brush wheel is doing pretty good. But look at this. I mean, I saw in there. Can you see all the way in there? Yeah, I think you can. So all the way in there, that's actually that piping I put in from the other side. So you can see that crack goes all the way through. And you can actually see the piping on the other side. That's that foam piping. So we're gonna fill this whole crack up with that solution, and that's what that looks like now. I mean, that is tough as nails, man. That is not coming off. So that's real nice and adhered, and it is super strong. The little fibers over there, once they get that epoxy in them, man, it's they're crazy. So that wire cup wheel, you can definitely tell it's done a better job. This area here, so we'll put a strip across there, and then we'll allow the solvent to work from here down, and I'll just keep on working on it. So a little bit more of a job than what I had thought with this tar being involved, but you know, that's life when you do construction. It's one project after another, and you know, you uncover things that you didn't think were there. All right, so I've been working really hard on this, getting this tar removed, and it is totally doing its job. I've used the grinder, multiple different wheels, some solvent, that kind of stuff. So basically this is where I'm at. I mean, I can't get it any further without wasting a crazy amount of time on it. So I'm gonna use what I got here, which is pretty good. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's pretty good. And put the rest of this carbon fiber on with the epoxy. So you can just see like how much it went down from right around here all the way down to here. And then the rest of that down there is just, it's not worth it. So I'm gonna put in some more layers of carbon fiber, and that's what we're gonna do now. Okay, so I got my rotary hammer drill. You know, you can just get, I got this one at Harbor Freight, not sponsored by these people. It's really nice. Has a special masonry bit. You'll notice on the end, kind of has these little flutes to it. So what you do, if you've never done one of this before, you know, I'll show you how. If you have, and this is old news to you, just go ahead and skip ahead. So you just, you know, insert it like you would technically like a regular drill. You pull back this little sheath, put in your bit, and then it'll find its own little canal based on those flutes. And you'll notice that it goes in and out. And what that does is that spins and pulsates. It makes short work of drilling holes into masonry. So I'm just gonna, I was fortunate enough, I kind of reused a couple holes already to hold up the mesh. Let's drill a couple more holes on top where we need it. I'm going to go ahead and reuse the same tap cons that I took out. Might as well, they're still perfectly good. And it's that simple. So yeah, if you're going to do any kind of masonry stuff where you're going to have to be drilling over and over and over again, get one of those kind of rotary masonry drills. It's perfect. It's designed to do the good job. And you won't burn out your bits as fast, you know, if you're just using like a regular drill, which isn't designed for it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of these tap cons in. Okay, so I have to do a little bit of prep work here. I have the goal of this is threefold. We're going to do the carbon fiber on the outside, the carbon fiber on the inside of the walls in the basement, and then I want to fill that crack with the epoxy resin, the specialty mix. It's pretty viscous, you know, it flows really easily. So I don't want it to just pour out of the bottom of the crack somewhere. So what I've decided to do, and I've done this before in some of my other videos where I make like a little slurry, and it's just like a really like a liquefied version of you know, some mortar mix or whatever kind of slurry you're trying to make, cement, whatever, mortar. And so what I've already done is, down here is the bottom of the crack. I just put tape down there, and that's about where I want that slurry to go, to form the bottom of the area where the epoxy doesn't pour out. So I just made a little bit a small little funnel here out of a yogurt cup, and I'm going to pour the slurry mix down inside the crack here, which is pretty wide. And when I see it, I left just a little crack right there, kind of like a viewing port. So when I see that come out or whatever, I'll know that the slurry has gotten to the bottom of that crack there, and then hopefully it'll seal it up so all of my epoxy, when I inject it, just doesn't go down and out into the footer or something. So that's the goal, and it will probably settle a little bit, so maybe we'll have to do this, you know, twice or something. So so that's the purpose of this before I put up the rest of the veneer bricks and stones. I'm going to take you in close so you can see this. So right there was my little viewing port, and that's just tape. That could just be temporary, or you could leave it there, it doesn't matter. But I want to make sure that gets all the way back in there. So I'm gonna kind of tape this up a little bit here, or just let it set and fill it in a little bit later. All right, so I went ahead and I left the initial batch of slurry kind of like hardened for about a half an hour or so. I just went and had lunch, came back, and I poured a little bit more, probably around, I don't know, 12 ounces more of slurry into that hole that was right there. So it should have a nice area right around here that should solidify on the bottom, and it'll prevent the rest of that epoxy, the inner wall epoxy, from just flowing out. So I also went ahead and I taped up the rest of the crack, etc. That should be all good, because we're actually going to be putting in the epoxy on the inside of the basement through those little ports. So that crack goes all the way through. So now we're just going to put up the mesh and start doing some like a brown coat or like a scratch coat for the base of the stone. All right, so we got the mesh on there. As you know, good as possible. You can overdo it if you want, but you know, you generally want to have a sufficient amount of anchors in the wall in order to hold the weight. And once you get the mortar on there, and I'm using type S mortar right now, you know, generally I like to use type N mortar, N as in Nancy, for anything above grade. Type S is usually better for below grade, it's harder. Type N usually has a little bit more flexibility. So if you have something like stone, like this, that has the sun hit it in the morning or late evening or something, and then it gets cooler or hotter depending on what type of year it is, that type N mortar will allow it a little bit more flexibility. They were out, so I'll use type S. It's fine, I guess, but just preference and really what it's supposed to be like. So I'm just going to mix some in the 5-gallon bucket and just do a scratch coat, like a 1/4 inch thick, something like that. You'll see it. It's basically just a backer where you can put the stone on there. All right, that looks pretty good. I have some left over. So, I mean, it took me 75% of that bag, maybe a little bit less. And, you know, I got the whole thing scratch coated. That'll cure, it'll turn a little bit lighter. And then we're gonna use the same kind of mortar, not cement, mortar, type S mortar, to put on the blocks. So I've saved some, and I thought ahead about this when I did this wall before, and just had some extra just in case there was a repair. So we'll go ahead and we'll fill in, and I'll show you how that's done, because you might be able to kind of see each row kind of has a pattern to it, and it repeats itself. So we'll go over that the next time we come back. Thanks. All right, so we're back at it. This has had plenty of time to dry behind us, and it's got a sufficient amount of like little inconsistencies in there, so you know the new stone will adhere to here pretty well. You don't want it like completely smooth. They call it a scratch coat for a reason. Some guys put like little lines through it and stuff like that. I didn't get to it at that point in time, but it's fine. So what I did is I went ahead and I put a ledger board on the bottom, and that's just to kind of hold the first row, but as they solidify they'll kind of hold their own weight with some cement on there, some mortar. And then I went and I got my supply of stock stone, and I kind of like just put them out and organized them a little bit on the ground, and you can see there's There's a few in there that I bought secondhand. They're a little bit more gray, but over here I really don't think it's going to matter. So you'll notice that they're kind of like, you know, different widths and heights and stuff like that. And the idea is then to kind of like mimic what was there and try to make it look like it was a stacked stone, stagger the joints, that kind of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to just mix a little bit more of that same masonry mix, and then just start putting stones up. It's pretty easy. All right, so we got the outside of the building all taken care of, and got the strapping on there, the carbon fiber strapping, and then also re-bricked it on the outside. It's looking really good. So stage 2, this is a bit of overkill maybe. I want to try to still put that epoxy in between the crack, and normally what you do is it's for a smaller size crack, but this one's kind of large. So I did buy some extra epoxy, but normally what you do is you fill in from the bottom, and then it works its way up as you put the pressure. So I kind of already made like a little dam right here, so the epoxy won't fall below this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the next portal, which is up there, and see if it will settle down, because this stuff is pretty thin, the viscosity on it, and it's fairly expensive as well, so I'm concerned that I'm just going to be wasting it. So that's why I'm doing it this way. Normally what you do is you fill from the bottom up in a much smaller crack, but I think I have it sealed on the outside and then sealed on the inside now, you know, with this gray epoxy that seals the crack from the inside, and then also on the bottom I think it's sealed. So we're gonna test that out and see how that goes. So just to give you an idea where we're at, I'm gonna try to gauge to see whether or not this leaks by actually looking in the bottom port, and you can see that there is some in there that maybe has dried already from the previous application. So I'm not sure if that is going to fill back up or not, but normally what you would do is you would, you know, fill through that port there, and then it would go up. So we're gonna go up to that second port right there, and hopefully it'll work its way down, and then maybe we'll see it actually fill into this port here, this access port. All right, so I went ahead and I put in 2 more tubes of that epoxy, and I'm going to show this to you up close. But I think it did fill in down here, and then like I said, I tried to build like a little, I don't know, cap or dam or something like that here, so the epoxy will fill up the crack, as it fills up. So let's just take a look at that. Hopefully, if all goes well, the new epoxy will go in there, will solidify, and maybe it's gone up. I don't know how far it has gone up, because that crack's pretty thick. So eventually, it'll make its way up to that top port, and it'll start coming backwards on the top port, and that's how you know that it's gone up inside the crack. So let's take a look and see what it looks like up close. Okay, so that's the bottom port, and I definitely think here's that bottom port. I definitely believe that has filled up with the epoxy, and I don't see much in this crack here that looks fresh, like it would be coming down past that little dam. I hope that has worked, because that stuff is fairly expensive. If not, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, but it would be nice if it did solidify in there. There's a little bit of goop right there, and just in comparison, there's the top port that we're at, and then there's another one even higher. So I do want to go even higher on this, but right there is that secondary top port, and it's still clear, so that means that it's falling down and filling up the cavern here. So I know that this one is full. I guess if that empties out, if there's a slow leak or something in there, then I know that it's there's a problem. So eventually all this will be removed, and then we'll put another piece of the carbon fiber on the inside. So, but so far so good. Hopefully that will cure inside of there, and I'll be able to patch this with some really strong concrete or mortar. And then I don't know about the bottom part of it. That might be a different issue. So that's where we're at. The plan is we have to fill in this little gap here, and I got some high strength mortar, and that will set up pretty quick. It's rapid set mortar mix and high strength, and it's structural repair, so that'll be pretty good, and it's specifically for walls and floor repair there. So just got a little couple little buckets here, and we'll mix that up. And the goal is this little area that was in there, that had some like rebar and stuff in that, and then everything above that pocket right there has been filled in with the liquid epoxy, and we're going to knock out the little nipples right there with a hammer, and then fill this area here. It was just too big, and the epoxy is too viscous. It would just run out. So we're going to fill that part up right there in the pocket with that high strength mortar, and then clean this wall up here all the way up and down, and then put in that reinforced carbon fiber mesh, and that should do it for this. But you might notice that there's a little bit of like texture to these bricks here. You see that right there, that texture? So I'm going to try to knock that down with the cup grinder, the cup wheel, so it's a nice clean fix area for the epoxy and the that carbon fiber mat to go on there, and that'll be vertical, and then that should be it. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, and you know, it's probably not going to be as strong as the epoxy stuff, but this is supposedly high strength mortar. You know, for what it's worth, I got it at Home Depot. Usually it's pretty good. You know, I'll post whatever PSI it is or whatever, but it's supposed to be higher strength. I did look to try to find some other kind of like fibers or something to put in there, like, I don't know, structural fibers like fiberglass or something, and I couldn't find it. So I think this is going to be good because really it might provide just a little bit of structural support in there, but really what it's meant for is that, you know, when that carbon fiber mesh gets put vertically on this area all the way up from floor to ceiling, that's so there's like no void behind there. So hopefully that will work out well, and we'll let this dry like overnight or something. Usually 24 hours I let it, even though it's fast setting, and come back tomorrow. And we got to grind these little surface areas down here, kind of prep this up a little bit, knock off these nipples that we put in the epoxy into, and just basically get this area right in here from floor to ceiling from about 12 inches out, all prepped and ready to go. So hopefully, if all goes well, knock on wood, this project will be over. Thank you so much for sticking in on this one. Debating whether or not to do this as a full-length video or a series. I don't know. I think I might just do it as a full-length video and break it up, and you guys can go into chapters. So, anyhow, I really enjoyed this project. Hope you guys like it too. Thanks. All right, so we got the crack all filled in here with the mortar, and we need to basically even out this surface just a little bit. So hopefully I got the cup grinder with a special little attachment here, and hopefully it'll suck up most of the dust. So wish us luck. Coming out of the hose there. Yeah, get it over here. Get the hose over here. Here, the hose. All right, so that was could have been a worse job in terms of like dust and stuff like that, but I did buy this kind of like dust collector attachment that goes onto the grinder, and then use a diamond cup wheel to kind of smooth out that area, which is important to get like a good bond with the epoxy and the carbon fiber sheet. So let's take a look at that real quick, and then we can just put the carbon fiber on with the epoxy. So as you can see, there's kind of like a little like ridge in this area here where the natural form of the poured wall is, and that diamond cup wheel does a really nice job kind of like smoothing it out right there. So that's basically 12 inches from this corner to over here, and it did a pretty good job. So that's where the strip is going to be for the carbon fiber. And I think it did a nice job overall. And that's where that patch was. Right there was that patch. So you can see that that's going to be a nice surface. So I think we're going to get like a really nice bond with that carbon fiber patch, which is going to be basically the same thing as doing the outside, but just on the inside. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, that last little part, it's like relatively easy, definitely messy, and obviously you should wear, you know, like rubber gloves or something like that to apply that epoxy. But you know, it's just like everything, it's all in the preparation and the prep work. So that final application goes on pretty smooth, and you just use the proper like kind of caulking gun, you know. And I like to start from the top, as you saw, and then you know, put the first base coat on, put the epoxy right on the concrete just so you make sure that something's getting underneath there. And then I like to go back and like put it on top. So I don't know if that is like the manufacturer's recommended application, but I, as you can see, you know, use my fingers and push that epoxy definitely in there and getting in all the little cracks and crevices and getting all the air pockets with my fingers. So I suppose you could use a squeegee or something like that, but hey, you know, use those blue gloves and nitrile gloves, and it does a really good job in my opinion. It definitely gets all that epoxy, which is the mechanical portion of it, where it needs to go. So take a look. You know, it's I think it's going to do a nice job here. So I don't know if you guys can see that, if it's coming out, but went all the way to the corner and then all the way down, and that is basically just little teeny tiny strands of carbon fiber, and it is very strong, and it goes both ways. So very happy with that. So hopefully that will create a very strong bond, and on the outside and the inside, and it'll solve that crack. So anyhow, super long project for me. This actually took over a couple months, you know, working on it like kind of part-time. So, you know, let me know in the comments if you like me to break these kind of longer projects up into smaller videos. I'm going to put this out just as one video, just because I like watching other videos where it is kind of like start to finish, and you can always hit fast forward or something like that. Maybe I'll put in like some chapter breaks, but let me know how you guys like it. You know, typically, you know, videos on YouTube are like, you know, under 20 minutes for long form, and then the shorts are crazy short, like 10 seconds, you know, 20 seconds. So I'm kind of torn as to whether or not you guys want to see that, you know, for like attention span purposes, broken down into several different videos, or if you just want like long form videos that are about like an hour or something, which is pretty long, I admit. But I'm going to do that just as a test. Let me know how you like it, and as always, thank you so much. If this helped you out at all, or if you enjoy this kind of content, you know, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button, especially the subscribe button. That really helps out. So have a great day. Have a great New Year's, everybody. Take care.